Hello, my name is Aoife. I was homeschooled from 2009 to 2018, and I live in Dublin with my family. Okay, typical homeschool day. I think it's fair to say, like, the first few years in homeschooling were very different compared to my later years in homeschooling. Initially, I was 9 when I came out, my brother was 7, and we thought as a family we were going to be sitting around the kitchen table, mom would be the teacher, and it was very much structured between, 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And then it soon became clear that that wasn't working for us. I suppose we viewed our mother as our mammy, like she wasn't a teacher, and it was just very unnatural. So within 2 weeks, I suppose we took all school books away under the stairs, and we took the approach of kind of unschooling, where myself and my brother could, guide the way. We could do whatever we were interested in, whatever we felt like at the time, not necessarily schoolwork related, but maybe possibly like things like baking, writing, reading, sports, drama, different kind of games. The big rule was no television or internet within school hours. And that actually worked really, really well because I suppose a lot of people think, oh, like if you have, television, internet, it's a great distraction. You can sit down and get occupied. But by not having them, we were forced to use our minds. We were forced to get creative, get motivated, and say, well, what can we do instead? And what we actually found was, as time went on, like the end of school day would appear at maybe say 2 o'clock for most primary school children. And instead of us wanting to rush and watch TV, we were actually so enticed in whatever like project we were doing, whether it was maybe colouring in the flags of the world or something, um, we just wanted to keep going. And we kind of lost all track of time. So the first few years were very much like that. Dad did set out some maths for us to do every day. He thought that was very like important for us to keep going. And Mum loved Irish, so we had an Irish teacher who'd come in twice a week for grinds. And we also did a bit of science and some English. But apart from that, it was very much kind of, go with the flow, see what we felt like each day. There was a lot of going to different places. So like whether it was museums, cultural trips, different places, and also homeschool meetups. It was a great help the first year to go to different meetups around Ireland and meet other homeschoolers. We didn't feel so alone, I suppose. As time went on, when I was 14, I became more aware that my friends were all like studying very hard for the junior cert and leaving cert and stuff, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't do any of this at all. So my cousin kindly gave me all his junior cert books when he was finished, and it soon became kind of apparent to me, look, you read the book, you learn about it, um, and sure you see where it goes. So I ended up um setting out a deadline for myself to try and finish the books that he'd given, whether it was geography, history, maths, all those kind of things. Kind of set the limit to 16. I said if I could finish these when I was 16, I didn't have to do a set amount any day, but that was my long time aim. And that's what I did. I kind of got myself more into a structure myself. And I suppose I wanted to be able to discuss, Hamlet or whatever with my friends. If they were all talking about it, I wanted to be able to say, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen that in a book," to kind of know what they were talking about. But it was again very much like each day was different. Went with the flow. Some days I did a lot of work. Some days I didn't do much at all. Yeah, so there was definitely more structure as I grew older, but it was still very relaxed. So I think I was in school for about 5, 6 years. I started school when I was in junior infants, and I went right through until about third, fourth class. Um, I personally didn't have any problems the first few years of school. I did kind of find it hard with the rules and things like, say, going to the toilet, you had to ask to go to the toilet. You weren't allowed to run in school, you had to walk. Everything was walking. Again, kind of raise your hand for questions. And even things like playtime. Like, I don't know if this was kind of a generic thing in a lot of schools, but in our school anyway, you had to, if you asked, are we going to get playtime today or how much playtime are we going to get? You were told like automatically, well, you were going to get it, but now you asked, you're not going to get it. So I suppose there was a lot of these rules and things I didn't really understand. I was always a child who loved to ask the question, why? And I'd come back to my mother and father and I'd be like, why are there all these rules? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I think it was then when I got a bit older, I was about 8 or 9, I had problems with bullying and I wasn't happy whatsoever. I was, it just wasn't working out. So it was at that stage then my parents decided to look at homeschooling. And it was actually Mum who came up with the idea first. She was thinking about it. And I remember, well, she tells me now, she was at, I think, in Glendalough, and there was a homeschool conference around that time, and she had deliberately decided to bring us out for a walk in Glendalough. So she was hoping that we might end up stopping on the way and finding out more about the conference and homeschooling. Like the rest of the family had no idea. But we actually didn't. To her disappointment, we kept going. We didn't pay any heed to it. And a couple of weeks later, she said to us as a family, she was like, there's such thing as homeschooling, and it's strange because I remember hearing this and clearly telling some friends in school, there's children who don't go to school. How bizarre is that? But I never thought it was something that I would end up doing. I just thought there was other children out there who did that, and that was grand. And yeah, I didn't. But as I got more and more upset in school and the bullying issues got worse, I just became more unhappy, and I suppose we decided to try homeschooling. I will point out that I did end up going to school again when I was in fourth class, because I guess I kind of felt I wanted to give it a second shot. I was like, I don't want, those issues in the last school to affect the reason that should be the reason why I don't go to school. So I did go to another school then for 3 days a week, but I suppose it became apparent in that year that school wasn't for me, not at that moment, not at that time. And I was very unhappy. So I came out for what I didn't know at that time would be for good. Another thing to point out as well is that I never went to mainstream school. All the schools I went to were Montessori. They were actually from children 6 to 12 year olds, but no, they weren't mainstream. I was a very anxious child, so I think my parents decided that they would like a kind of a smaller school to start me off with, and see how it would go. And I suppose throughout the years of my homeschooling journey, particularly as I got into my teens, I always thought that I would go back to school. Every September, every summer, I'd always have the conversation with man. Do you know what? I think this is the year I'm going to go. And initially it was like, I'll wait till after the junior cert. And then it was, oh, sure, I'll go in for fifth year. And I yeah, kept getting postponed. And yeah, I never ended up going. But looking back, I never regretted my decision, or I suppose my parents' decision to send me to school. Like I I think it was very much life learning. I gained a lot of experience from it. I still have friends that I had in school, so I don't want to suppose regret that part of my life. I guess it wasn't for me, and I homeschooling kind of guess worked for me instead. A big question, exams. So I didn't do any exams, and that's crazy for me to even hear myself say, because I never would have thought I would have avoided doing exams, I suppose, to get into college. So starting off with the junior cert was something I didn't want to do. I found, first of all, it was very hard to do being homeschooled, because there was a lot of coursework that you were required to have in terms of to go on to to complete the exam, and it just made things very difficult. But also I didn't find it like that it was a necessity. I said, look, you know the leaving cert I could understand, but the junior cert, it was just basically kind of a milestone. And I thought, it personally believed it would be much more beneficial to focus on doing work experience, and trying to build up different aspects of my life, create a portfolio, and see what I might want to do in the future. Because from 14, like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was thinking of acting. I was also thinking of hotel management, which are very different things. And I'm doing event management now, so it's, I suppose, kind of related to the hotel side of things. But I really didn't have a clue. So I spent my time from 14 right up till about 17 doing every kind of work experience you could imagine, from solicitor and law firms to teaching. I did like charity work and concern, office work. Um, gosh, Abbey Theatre was another one. I literally have a list. I won't go through the list now, but I do have a list. And that really kind of gave me an idea of where I wanted to do, what I liked. And I found that personally more beneficial than, say, doing the junior cert exam. I did, and I aimed to do the sorry, I what am I saying? I planned to do the leaving cert, that was my goal. And I suppose at that time, a lot of my friends, when I was about 16, 17, a lot of my homeschooling friends had gone into secondary school. Their plan was to kind of do TY, fifth year and sixth year in secondary school. I, at that stage, wasn't really looking to go into school. I know every year I talked about the possibility of going back to school, but it wasn't something I wanted to do there and then. Um, and I guess I remember like a lot of my friends at that time who were like working homeschooled, they would have been very academic, I suppose, like into studying hard, getting high points and stuff. And from them, I suppose I would have had this mentality of I need to, get really high points in this leaving cert. I need to do just as well as them because I want to show them that like I'm doing the same. I'm good. I'm studying. And that was the mindset I was in for like a long time. I just was concentrated on grades and like being able to say to my friends like, "Oh, look at the grades that I've got," which wasn't really healthy because as time went on, I realized that I wanted to do event management, and the points for that weren't really high. It was about 365, yeah, 365. And yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So I remember clearly talking to a very good friend of mine, Rosie, and I hadn't seen her in a while. We were chatting and I was asking her what she was up to. She's about 3 years older than me. And at that time, she told me she just completed a PLC course without the leaving cert. And I remember this conversation so well. Part of me was in so much like admiration. I was like, "Wow, you've got into college with no state exams. Like that's brilliant." And another part of me was like, but I could never do that. Like, there's no way. Like, the exams are the proper way to do things, in my opinion, and I respect your decision, but I will never do that. And as time went on, more and more of me was thinking, maybe Rosie's approach for me might be the best thing. But I kept denying it. I kept saying, no, 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 my friends will think I'm ballistic. Like, what am I doing? And eventually I was at a homeschooling conference, and I think I always call them the older teens. And there was like homeschoolers who were young adults at the time who'd been through it all. And I remember talking to them and saying, how did you guys do this? Like do PLCs without the leaving cert? Like how did you find like not doing the leaving cert? And the more that I talked to them, the more I realized for the course that I wanted to do, a PLC or a QQI option would probably be the best. So in the end, I decided I'd give it a go. I went around to a few different colleges, PLC, further education colleges. And interestingly enough, a lot of them say you're required to have the leaving cert to get in. I didn't have that problem. I went in and I showed them a portfolio of different work that I had completed throughout the year, and they seemed pretty happy with that. And all the homeschoolers that I know who took that option also had no problem. So for anyone who was a bit unsure of getting into college or getting into a PLC without the leaving cert, I had no problem. And I really enjoy that year because I suppose PLCs or QQI courses, they're not necessarily college, but they're also not school. You're supposed you're given the same mind frame that you're expected to have in college. It's up to you to do the work. It's up to you to, attend class and ask questions. There's a lot of project and exam related work. Um, and that it's the very same as college. So I had no problem then using the points I got on my QQI through the CAO to get into college. So I'm currently studying in TU Dublin. I'm doing event management and I'm loving it. I really, really am enjoying it. I'm not sure what the future is gonna bring, particularly we're in the COVID-19 pandemic. Events look very uncertain at the moment. But sure look, apart from that, I'm really, really enjoying it. And again, the homeschooling has really helped me, I suppose, with my motivation levels, with my social levels, because there's so many meetups where you mix with others and you're used to chatting with people at the homeschooling meetups of all different ages. So I've found that's fantastic to be able to bring along in my college life, to be able to talk to so many different people. Yeah, so I'm just excited to see where and what the future will bring.